Hi, my name is Shakira Henderson, and I will be doing my policy speech on the PACT, which is Preventing Animal Cruelty and Torture Act. My general purpose is to persuade others to recognize animal rights as well as laws. I'm sure that we all know the saying, a dog is a man's best friend. John Wick can definitely attest to that. In the movie John Wick, his dog gets violently murdered. He avenged his dog's death. However, there are laws that have been put in place to protect the rights of his dog. By acknowledging animal rights, the PACT Act allows animals to be protected on a federal level against threats to their lives. When I was on the speech and debate team, my first debate topic was resolved, justice requires the recognition of animal rights. From then on, I have done extensive research on animal rights, and I am here to convince you that the PACT Act is the most beneficial law for animal rights. The PACT Act allows prosecution on the federal level for animal cruelty, endangerment, and etc. This law will help protect your pet in case of terrifying situations. Today I will be discussing with you the importance of animal rights. Then I will define the PACT Act. I will also discuss how this law came into existence. I will finally discuss with you the reasoning as to why we need the PACT Act to become state law as well as federal law. By acknowledging animal rights, the PACT Act allows animals to be protected on a federal level against threats to their lives. But first, why do we need animal rights? You may ask yourself, why are animal rights important to me? Well, animal rights are important because there are so many animals in the world being abused, used in test labs, and even mistreated simply for entertainment purposes only. I first made the mistake of thinking using animals for testing was a great idea, especially if we share similar DNA with certain animals such as chimpanzees. I read the book called The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. This book discussed how the spread of Ebola started. It all started from chimps being released back into the wild after being used for a series of tests in Marburg, Germany. One unfortunate man went hiking in the mountains and came across a family of chimpanzees who were very irate when they saw the man. The man was beaten by an angry chimpanzee. Little did he know the bite was least of his worries. Here lies the major problem. The scientists who were performing the experiments on the chimpanzees released them back into the wild as if nothing ever happened. Because humans and chimpanzees share similar DNA structure, we can contract deadly diseases from them and when we are encountered with one. This is how the man caught the Marburg disease, which eventually turned into Ebola. And there is currently no cure for Ebola. Certain laws and regulations were put into place so that animals could be protected against such cruel and unusual punishments. Laws such as the PACT Act or Preventing Animal Cruelty and Torture Act were signed into Congress and adopted into federal law. According to an article, Palliative Animal Law, the War on Animal Cruelty, ex-President Donald Trump signed the PACT Act into law in 2019. There are already laws for states regarding animal cruelty. This was a great step in the right direction for animal law because this act allowed acts of animal cruelty to be charged as federal felonies. Now that you are familiar with the PACT Act, I will also talk to you about how this law came into existence. The PACT Act came into effect after Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania proposed the bill to Congress. Senator Blumenthal of Pennsylvania said the barbaric torture of animals has no place in a civilized society and should be a crime, and thanks to this new law, it is. The United States Senate passed the PACT Act unanimously on November 5, 2019, and the United States House of Representatives passed it on October 23, 2019. According to Toomey Blumenthal, landmark animal cruelty bill signed into law article, the PACT Act is the first federal legislation of its kind and would ensure individuals found guilty of torturing animals face felony charges, fines, and up to 7 years in prison. Now that I have shown you where the law originated from, I will discuss the reason why this law needs to be a state law. According to the National Agricultural Law Center, the PACT Act does not apply to certain circumstances. For example, the only exceptions are people who work in agricultural industry, customary and normal veterinary, and other animal management practices. This article also states that things such as branding, dehorning, castrating, and among others are protected. There are no exclusions for people who are slaughtering animals for food or euthanizing animals. There are also exclusions for people who are hunters, fishers, trappers, or doing some sort of sporting activity. Without these exemptions, we would not be able to have meat or seafood readily available in the grocery stores. Some people would be out of a job if animals are regulated. We would have if animals aren't regulated, then we would have an overpopulation of that specific animal species. The main thing about this law is to understand that it is a federal law. Cornell Law School defines federal law as being anything having federal governmental authority. This means that the law is only federal. A person can be guilty of violating the state law of animal cruelty, but the violation of the federal law, the PACT Act, may not go into effect because it is a federal law and not a state law. In conclusion, I would like to make these final statements. The PACT Act is a step up in the right direction in the progression of animal rights. The PACT Act should be assessed as a state law as well as federal law. Animal rights are important for the livelihood of the animal as well as humans. The PACT Act protects animals from cruelty and torture. This act was made a federal law because of two senators who believe animals should be better protected. There are exemptions to this law for our well-being. The one thing about this law that should be changed is that it should be a state law. By acknowledging animal rights, the PACT Act allows animals to be protected on a federal level against threats to their lives. Animals should be protected at all costs. We are the highest functioning animal in the food chain. Who are we to sit here and abuse and neglect our animals? This is not just. Justice is giving everyone or everything its own due. Why not give justice to our own furry friends?